Hey everybody, Christie from Happy and Healthy TV with another great video of 100 days documentary of a girl with Lyme disease. So, what is my topic for today? Sorry about that, guys. My Facebook is dinging in the background. Actually with another buddy with Lyme. Anyway, my topic for today is going to be talking about traveling with Lyme disease. How are you affected by it, and what are some tips and different secrets that I can give to you guys that make life a little easier when you have to travel? So, okay, I would presume talking about this, it would depend on what kind of symptoms you have when you're traveling, and what you're dealing with. But I can tell you, and also what mode of transportation you're taking. So, what I'm going to kind of go ahead and do is give you some synopses or some experiences that I've had, and different things that have worked really well for me, and I can tell you some stuff that hasn't. But I can tell you things have worked out really well when I've traveled with Lyme in the past before. So, and then ongoing travel in the future, that's an interesting topic we'll bring up a little bit later, with having maybe some later stage Lyme cases. So I could talk to you guys about that. So let's take a look at a couple of trips that I've been on in the past few years. So let's see. I'm an avid flyer. I'm constantly flying someplace. I had lived in California for a period of time, so flying back and forth to New York was like routine for me. Also, uh, part of my life has been traveling for wellness purposes, obviously. So I've had some pretty interesting experiences, well, interesting experiences rather, should I say, traveling with dealing with Lyme. And again, some better than others. Um, I'm going to say here's the first thing, and this is probably an obvious one. Um, Always buy travel insurance. There is no reason not to buy travel insurance. It's actually very silly not to. A multitude of things, not even having to do with your health, can go on. Maybe there's a hurricane or something, or there's inclement weather and you miss a connecting flight and it screws up, maybe a day of staying in a hotel. Most of you guys don't know, I've actually had my travel agent license for, geez, I don't know, since like 2005. It's been like 13 years. So I've on and off renewed it. And if you're interested in getting a license, you can actually contact my buddy Ruben Muniz. He's with Family Fun Cruises and Tours, so you can just Google that. And he's been in the business for over 30 years. This guy's awesome. And, they offer all kinds of what we call FAM trips, which stands for familiarization. And FAM trips are great. I can't really go into too much detail without um, revealing some of the really cool secrets of the travel agent industry when it comes to being an agent. But I can tell you, the last few times I traveled, I've gotten free upgrades. I get discounts on things. I just can't tell you who, where, why, and how much I get. But um, I was actually turned on to this years ago when I worked for AT&T. So this is going back way back when, before my son was born, with a gentleman who had also worked with a travel agent through Ruben. And since then, I've met quite a few other agents. My father's actually an agent. My sister is an agent as well. Hi, Carol. Love you, sis. So, yeah, tons and tons of really great perks to having that. So, being that I have the extra knowledge set there on, being a healthcare provider with Lyme disease and also being a travel agent, I thought this would be a cool topic to talk about, especially because I have some upcoming travel concerns that I'll talk to you all about tonight. So, anyway, starting off with, what are some things that you can do, some really positive things, to help your travel be better? So when I'm leaving and I'm flying, so let's just, assume that you're flying somewhere, or presume in this particular case you're flying. One of the things that I always do is I get wheelchair assistance. I let somebody know that prior to me flying that I am disabled. Um, and there are days that I can walk. So you guys see me running sometimes. So like, well, why would she need a wheelchair and what's up with that? There are a couple of reasons. One, I've got really, really bad cognitive problems, and I don't remember where the hell I'm going half of the time anymore, where I used to be like a human GPS. So that has changed a lot since I got Lyme. So if you do have cognition problems and you have a hard time navigating an airport, it is awesome to have wheelchair assistance, because you have somebody that works in the airport that knows where they're going. You don't have to think. For me, anytime I don't have to think too much, it's probably helpful. And also, yeah, for safety reasons, I'm traveling with my now 10-year-old son. I've been traveling with him for years. So obviously safety is a priority and a concern for me. So God forbid I were to have a single episode or pass out in an airport while I'm with my child alone traveling, which again, we've been brave and we've done that quite a few times. I know somebody is at least standing there with my child. So that's another thing if you're traveling with children and you're concerned about that with, having a chronic illness or a major thing going on. Anyway, so wheelchair assistance is awesome. The other thing that I probably shouldn't tell you that I will tell you anyway is, there are periods of time where, again, I cannot walk for long periods of time. Otherwise, I do have a syncopal episode. I'll pass out. So that is why I'm using wheelchair assistance. Um, on some airlines, you get to board the plane first as a disabled passenger, and a lot of times they'll let you off the plane first. I don't care if I board the plane, first or whatever the case is. But I can tell you when you're traveling with a minor child, it's actually kind of a benefit because if you're on a plane that doesn't have assigned seating, that kind of helps to guarantee that I can sit next to my child. And also, if there is an emergency, I want to make sure that a flight attendant is aware of the fact this is my child and he's not sitting rows behind me, or anything like that. So that's another helpful hint. So wheelchair assistance is awesome. I'm always tipping the wheelchair assistance people, but evidently I learned on a flight where I was coming back from California. I had a layover in DC, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you're not supposed to tip us." Like I'm like, "Oh well, like 900 other people before you let me." So whatever the case is, oh, you don't have to tip them. I just think I really appreciate the extra help. So, I go ahead and I tip people. Anyway, they're not supposed to take the tip, evidently. So just another FYI in case you don't want to feel like you're being scammed. In my case, again, I appreciate the help. So more than happy to ensure my child's safety. You can have a tip. That's cool. So that's a great thing. Another little tidbit with traveling with Lyme. So anytime I go anywhere, it's again, I'm talking about traveling with a minor child too. Um, it's really important to me to make sure I have like an itinerary of everything I'm doing, my flight information, obviously. Last year, for example, my son and I went down to Disney. It was my like 20th time going down there, me being the big Disney fanatic that I am. Got like all my Disney stuff, my cute little Elsa pillow that says "Have courage and be true to yourself," which have to love Elsa for that. And yes, I'm 35 years old with an Elsa doll floating around in my bed who actually flips over. She's really cute. Figure since we always talk about horrible medical stuff, I'm gonna throw some cute stuff in there. So anyway, down to Disney for his first time, my like 20 millionth, and we traveled alone, but we had family coming up from Tampa, and we also had my girlfriend Laura coming up with her son, staying with us for an evening. So that was awesome. And, so my son and I got to spend some really good quality mommy and son time, but at the same time, we had, have people in and out. This year, we're going with a huge group of people. We're traveling down there with like 20 people, and then I have the same thing, people coming up and going back and forth, friends, family, all kinds of stuff. So a little bit easier. So absolutely is it easier when you have a disability like Lyme and when you're having a really bad day to know that, yeah, there's somebody there to help you out if you do need a hand. So I would recommend that if you're traveling. Last year I was in a little bit more of a remission period and I was still running and able to do stuff that my doctors are screaming at me not to do now, including even walking. So here's a tip. When I go down to Disney or if I'm traveling anywhere, you can rent an ATV, which is a scooter. It sounds funny, like, I'm 35 years old, like driving around a scooter, but, it's funny. I try to make it fun for my son anyway. I let him drive it. He actually drives it better than I do. I'm really good at driving my car, but for some strange ass reason, I cannot drive those little scooter things, or I can, but I'm not very good at it. I do recommend for that reason also to probably get insurance on those. It's like $20 for the whole time that you're using it. Like for a week, it cost me about $20. No big deal. I'm so glad I got that insurance because when I had first started trying to mess around with that thing, oh my God, people must have been just like hysterical laughing at me because it was really funny. I was laughing at myself. I had my child hysterical laughing, but I bumped into like everything. I'm trying to drive it. My son's sitting on the front of it. And, yeah, I hit so much stuff. I like broke the front fender on it. Like I returned this thing in such horrible condition and they were just like, yeah, it's no problem at all. I'm like, okay. Maybe by the second day that we were down in Disney last year, I actually had my son start driving it, and I thought that was pretty hilarious because he was just so much better at driving it. So yay for Jaden. He's a good driver at 9 years old, now 10. So that was pretty funny, but the scooter was good. So I'm not overexerting myself. So what conditions with Lyme may you have that you don't want to overexert yourself? I don't know if you're having like joint problems, if you're having chronic fatigue that day and you're on vacation, you still want to get up and enjoy yourself at least, whatever, you're driving around a scooter, but who cares? Lots of people drive around in them at this point. We made our scooter funny. That was another tip maybe to put in there. It was kind of a sidebar. We went up tying Mickey Mouse balloons. We're very like obnoxious and tied them to the back of our scooter, and we called it the Mouse Mobile, my son and I. So we made it silly. And unfortunately, a couple of people I think got smacked in the face by said balloons. We were very apologetic. Nobody really minded being smacked in the head with a Mickey Mouse balloon. After all, you are in Disney. It's supposed to be the happiest place on earth, or the most magical place on earth, whatever they call it these days. Um, but that was really funny. So, try to use humor with the situation. I know some people tell me they're embarrassed to do something like that. Whatever. If you need the extra help, you might as well take it. And then you can walk around later when you're back at your hotel, your resort, stuff like that. So, just a little tip if you're traveling to Disney, or if you're traveling anywhere doing a lot of walking. Most of the time, you're staying at an all-inclusive resort. I mean, maybe it's not such a big deal, but if you're staying someplace that's huge like Disney, I would definitely say to see if you could rent a scooter. And again, it's available on the majority of trips. Again, problems you would use it for: joint pain, if you have peripheral neuropathy, maybe can't feel your feet and you're not able to walk around. People that are in wheelchairs typically, and especially if again you're covering a lot of ground, that may be a good idea for you. They're pretty inexpensive in cost. I think for like a week, I think I paid like $200 to rent a scooter, so nothing crazy. And that was with the insurance added on, in case, being that I returned it completely broken. So I think I have a picture of that. I should post that underneath in the comments section here. It's a really funny picture of this thing completely all messed up. We should have done it before and after. Before Christie drives it, after disabled Christie drives. Hilarious. So, yeah. So that is something that I think would be a great idea. So very, very helpful. Again, an itinerary, leaving information with people. So literally when I go on a plane, it's like I have to let them know like all the health conditions I have now. Particularly the fact that I have a heart condition. So if anybody has a heart condition or something that arose from Lyme, or from anything really, you definitely want to let somebody know about that. You could call the airline in advance, and I give them the whole list of my health problems. It's really helpful, in case of an emergency, I leave an emergency contact list. I also do the same thing when I'm at a hotel. And again, this is also even more so when I'm traveling alone or with my minor child alone. Will leave an entire list at the hotel. Listen, this is where there's a chain of numbers of people for you to call if I run into a problem, that will jump on a plane and hop out here immediately. And or even better, if whatever state or country you're traveling to, if you know someone there, that's even cooler. What I would do, if when I was going down to Florida, I know a lot of people down there, family and friends. I leave a list of all my New York contacts here at home, and then I leave a list of my Florida contacts. I'm lucky enough to have worked for a company that was a national company where I had a very high level position before I got sick. So I really never worried about traveling, because if almost whatever state I was in, I actually just knew somebody. So that was a really cool thing. With Facebook and social media today, I know people have friends all across the world. So, that's a really cool thing to consider if you are traveling. Just letting any place that you're going to know, listen, I have these health concerns. These are the problems that I have. This is why I'm directing you to a list, basically. And I always give the list when I first make the booking, and I also confirm it, like, as I check into the hotel. Listen, you have my list of my emergency contacts. Yeah, we have that on file for you. Okay. At least I know wherever I am that I'm going to be, it's not going to be an issue. Another thing that I could show you guys, that it's actually really cute. So kind of run across my bedroom right now. This is what it looks like, by the way, guys, when you're writing your next book, with all kinds of crazy stuff all over my bed. So you guys can laugh at that. While I find this. 1 second. Okay. I have to edit this part of me moving all about out of this video. So, okay. So check this thing out. It's really, really cool. So if you're like a big little kid like me, and I like to have fun stuff as opposed to not so fun stuff, one of the things that I have here, so I have my medical ID band, and yeah, this is what it looks like, but it is so super duper cool because it's one of those flat band bracelets. Guys, flew away on me there. Having a lot of technical stuff. We're going to definitely be doing some editing on this. Okay. Trying to get you guys to sit on my computer, so this way I don't have to hold up the phone. So let me try to show you this. So if you can check this out. Remember like slap band bracelets from like the 80s? This thing just like slaps right on your wrist. The reason why I got this one is actually not because I wanted to act like a 5-year-old. It was because the ones that fit for adults, like, were I was so skinny at the time, just kept falling off my wrist. So I do have a really cute, like a Tiffany like bracelet that's just like all these hearts that are connected to each other. It's really really cute. And that one's just like it's so I have a silver one and a platinum gold one, I think. Um, yeah, so they do make fancy ones. I have so many health conditions, sadly, I probably need like 6 of these. You can only list, I have what, one, two, three, four on here, because some of them have long names. It actually doesn't even say I have Lyme disease on here. I didn't even bother to put that on here because you full well know, anybody that's listening to this, that's probably not going to factor in anything if you wind up, God forbid, in a hospital when you're on vacation. So that's something to look at. Another thing to check into, is your medical care valid in state to state or in another country? You can wind up spending a ton of money if you're in a different country for medical care if you're sick. So I would say, it conservatively, and again, I'm not your doctor, so I can't tell you what to do. But as a healthcare provider, if you're concerned about traveling out of the country and having to pay for healthcare costs that you may incur, this also includes going on a cruise. If, God forbid, you are on a cruise ship and you do get sick, I know somebody that actually had to get helicoptered off of a boat. A friend of mine at one point at a conference we were at, actually, it was upsetting. So he had to leave because he was having some severe medical issues. So if you know beforehand, with your Lyme and it's really, really bad and you're really not in a good spot, I think it's always great to have a vacation and something to look forward to if you could do it. But maybe make it a little bit more feasible. Like, I know in my situation, I would not jump on a boat right now. Although there is medical care in a boat, of course it's limited. And again, if you wind up, I don't know, in like Jamaica or something, I don't mean to be offensive. You don't know what kind of medical care you're going to receive. It's going to be different from what you'd receive in the United States, which I might say would be a good thing in a lot of cases. But the cost is really my concern for people if they don't realize where does your insurance work, where does it not work. Travel insurance can sometimes cover things like that. So check with your individual travel policy plan that you purchased, and you can look up plans specifically that'll cover those things. So I would definitely recommend that. I would probably recommend, if you're a U.S. citizen or whatever country you're a citizen of, and you do have Lyme. So if somebody in Europe is watching that has Lyme, again, you guys, I guess, have free health care there. Yay. And in the United States, obviously not the case. I know certain insurance companies maybe work only state by state. I happen to be out on SSD, so I have Medicare. It doesn't matter where I go. If I'm in the United States, I'm covered with my insurance. So if anybody else with Lyme is out on disability, then that's something just to be aware of. Let's see. Okay, maybe depending on what kind of vacation you're going on, again, like when I'm talking about a Disney vacation, with the last big trip with my son and I, um, you know, I would say to plan a rest day. I did not do that last year when I went to Disney because I had like tons of energy and I was like so excited to take my son down there for the first time. And he was excited, so I just kind of fed off his energy, and I was really good that trip. But again, I was in a little more of remission at that point in time. Um, Traveling this year, we're gonna have to take it really slow, so definitely have to put a day of rest in there. Unless you're going to the Caribbean and you're gonna be sitting on the beach the entire time. I mean, that's a different Oprah show. That's a really good healing vacation for somebody with Lyme disease. Speaking of, there's been tons of studies done that sitting on the beach from the ions from the ocean are not only good for depression, but it's good for boosting the immune system. And I think that's in part due to the vitamin D that you're getting from the sun when you're sitting on the beach. So most of us Limeys are low in vitamin D. So I think it's a really good idea if you're looking to just go chill. My Lyme doctor told me not long ago, she's so cute. If she could prescribe me anything, she'd tell me to just like go sit at a spa for a month, which, yeah, that would be totally kick ass if I wasn't a mom with a job with a bunch of responsibilities and, trying to kick Lyme in the ass. But that actually would be a really great idea. So if anybody wants to do that for me, like, so do that. That would be a great little thing to send out. Um, I'll just have to bring my little cutie patootie son with me. And I'll have to spring him out of school for a month. I don't know how I'm going to get that going. Um, just joking. Anyway, so anything you do that's relaxing probably is going to be preferable. I'm probably the only crazy person that takes a Disney vacation while they're like like not mobile right now, but that's fine. Again, I'm all about making memories, and that's important too. Just on another level, I think it's great always to have something to look forward to. I always make sure, even when I'm not in remission, I'm not feeling well, pending I get a bed, whatever, if I have to use my rollator or my wheelchair, I will. I still try to make, things to do for my son and myself. Another trip we did last year. So I'm epileptic. Anybody out there who has epilepsy from Lyme or had epilepsy, I hear it all the time. Um, and is unable to drive for long periods of time, or maybe you have peripheral neuropathy, again, can't feel your hands or your feet, or you have some medical condition that prevents you from driving. Maybe it's gastro issues and you're constantly having to stop at a restroom, not so much fun. If you're in an area, see, I'm fortunate, again, I live in New York, so I have access to any type of transportation I want. We have Subway, we have all these great things. Um, I would definitely recommend taking a train. Amtrak is really great. Last year we went down to Philadelphia. I was actually speaking at a Lyme conference last year down there in September, and did a whole lecture on nutrition, and it was great. We planned the weekend around spending time with my cousins who live in Pennsylvania. So I had vowed to run up the Rocky Steps too once I got myself into remission, which I was last year around that time. And I had just gotten done running my third 5K at that point. So, man, I tore up those Rocky Steps. It was great. If you've seen my previous videos, you know why that meant a lot to me to do that. So, the whole reason for me bringing this up is because we wound up taking Amtrak. So we live on Long Island. We took Long Island Railroad into Penn, and then hopped on a train from Penn. There are tons of Amtrak stations all across the country. If not ever taken an Amtrak train, it was pretty cool, I have to say. I mean, like, I like driving my car a lot, and I love going on road trips, but it was nice not to have to worry about a bathroom. Which, I mean, come on, these bathrooms are gross, but, if you've really got to go, you got to go. And the user of a dining car, and the food wasn't too bad, especially for a picky nutritionist. Me, some just like light stuff they had, but all the train stations, have tons and tons of food. So I kind of recommend, if you want something special, to maybe grab it before you get on the train. And it's like take a nap on the train. Like, I mean, that's nice. You don't have to worry about driving. Usually when we go on road trips, for some strange reason, I usually wind up being the driver, which is completely fine. Like I said, I enjoy driving, so it's no big deal. But it was nice to be able to kick back and not have to do that for a change and just watch the scenery go past. It's pretty cool. From New York to Philly, it was only an hour train ride, which was, to me, crazy. If I would have driven that, it would have taken a lot longer. So saving time, also another nice thing. And you get to watch all this, like I said, pretty scenery go by. So that was pretty cool. My son enjoyed that a lot. So a fun kind of like relaxing way to get someplace. What else? Handicap accommodations in hotels. So I don't know about you guys, but there are some days where I literally have to crawl to get to the bathroom, and when I do so, I'm not even able to stand up to take a shower. So, I have one of those really cool massaging shower head thingy bobs that comes down, and I can just wash my hair like that. So this way, I'm not walking around gross. Like, it's one thing, I don't care how sick I am, even when I'm in the hospital, I need to like take a shower at least once a day. Like, I don't care. So if I have to take a bath, whatever, it's not bad. I like taking bubble baths, but just to be able to make things easier. Last year we stayed in a couple of hotels. I had handicap accommodations in both. The bathroom's a lot bigger, so if you're using a walker or a wheelchair or something like that, it makes it a lot easier to get into the bathroom. Also, a lot of the times, especially with the newer hotels, they'll have like this door that opens out from the shower, from the tub rather, excuse me. So it makes life a lot easier if you're like me and you have to I used to have like I don't even know how I did this, like hoist myself over the wall of like my bathtub so I'd be able to get into it. I hurt myself doing that a bunch of times, so I don't recommend doing that. Although it must have looked really funny, like I was that like desperate to take. I'm like, fuck, excuse my language, excuse this. Like I need to yeah, this is not happening. If you guys can understand that. So, yeah, we stayed down in Art of Animation in Disney last year, and it was pretty cool. They had this little door that opened from the bathtub itself. So if I was on the floor, goodness forbid, I would just kind of be able to squish myself in there. Same thing with the shower head that came down. And again, most hotels will have these accommodations. So certainly make sure you ask. One of the things also, the tub's usually a little tiny bit bigger when you have handicap accommodations, again, which is nice. If somebody has to put a shower bench in there or something like that. Outside of that, it's just nice to have a bigger bathtub. So I guess that's a cool thing that comes out of being handy capable, as I call it. Or that's my girlfriend Deanna. coined that term. So Deanna Gross, you rock. I love you, my fellow wellness warrior girl. She's great. Gotta love her. Anyway, what other travel tips can I think of? So we talked about planes, we talked about trains, maybe driving restrictions. Oh, here's one thing. If you're driving someplace and you're taking a road trip or something, plan a lot of rest stops along the way. It's good to be able to stretch and stuff like that. And if you have issues where you have to use a restroom frequently, or maybe if you have like rheumatoid arthritis or multiple sclerosis, you kind of got to get up and move. That's helpful. Um, People with dysautonomia, anybody who's trouble regulating their body temperature, they're either going someplace extremely warm or cool, you may want to think about that before you go. Um, Maybe taking a trip like that. I know when I go down to tropical areas, I'm always bringing this really cool little water bottle I have that I wound up getting in Disney that I take everywhere. And it has a little fan on top of it and it sprays water out. So if I'm hot, I can cool myself off with that. That prevents me from passing out. Really cool thing. Another nice thing is they have those like little heat packets like that you can like kind of shake up. I forgot what they're called, but they're really cool. Um, I don't know, like heat pockets, hot pockets, well, not the nasty processed food hot pocket, but it's something like heat pockets related to that. You can shake them up and stick them inside of your like pockets and warm your hands up with them. Those things are pretty cool. Another thing maybe to think about, I went to Arizona a few years back and I'm traveling from New York to the desert and I'm thinking like, okay, I'm going to be wearing flip-flops when I go. This was a week before Christmas. So I'm thinking, all right, it's going to be warm in Arizona. And I checked the weather there before I went. It seemed to be pretty warm during the day. So I pack all these flip-flops and dresses and cute little outfits. And it so turns out that when I get there, it's like 20 degrees colder in Arizona in the desert than it is in New York. And I'm like, what is going on here? Like, how am I in the desert and it's cooler here? Um, I'm it's either global warming issues, like it was 40 degrees in New York and it was 20 when I got to Arizona. So people had joked around, did you bring the cold weather with you? I guess I did. My point to make with that was I'm so lucky I had my Ugg boots and like a parka in my bag because I would have been screwed without that stuff. Very, very cold. So I was packed for both seasons, especially for people who have trouble regulating their body temperature. I just make sure I have a ton of stuff. I always make sure I pack a bathing suit, even if I'm not going somewhere that has um, like if I'm not going on a beach vacation or if I'm not going somewhere in the summer. Because if the hotel has a pool, like I love to go swimming, so maybe that's another thing that you're able to do as exercise that's helpful to you. I also try to keep up with my workout regimes when I'm going away on vacation. That might sound silly, but I find if I don't feel as well. So, and I'm not able to get as much done. I went running last year in Disney just about every night when we were done. You know, it sounds silly. I was riding on a scooter during the day and then going for like a mile run at night. I was doing that because I had been sitting all day, one. And two, you know, weekend we needed the scooter. There were times I cannot stand for long periods in excessive heat because I do just wind up passing out or I get tachycardic or some strange thing happens like that. And I never know when it's going to come on, so I didn't want it to come on in the parks um, and when I was out and about. So again, you know, maybe taking a look at that if you work out in the gym and stuff like that, that's a little different. Um, you know, everybody has their preferences there. So, that's enough of my travel tips for today. I can definitely do another video on this. There's a lot of things I can think of that would be helpful. If you're on a special diet, bring food with you, call the local grocery store to where you're staying. I always stay in a suite wherever I go for the most part, and I have food delivered to my room. That's another service that can be offered. Call the hotel you're staying at. They can help provide you with that information. Um, so anyway, guys, would love if you subscribe to my page. We've got nutrition advice on our page, stuff about Lyme disease, prevention tips, you know, cure stuff, stuff on my previous book, stuff on Crohn's disease, a wide variance of health topics, in addition to my occasional vitamin M video, which I'm silly and dancing around and playing the flute. So I hope that you guys have a great day or evening, wherever you're coming from watching this. If you need to get a hold of me, you can reach me at Christie at happyandhealthywellness.com. For more updates on our Happy and Healthy TV page, absolutely click the button and subscribe down below. And if you have a question or a comment, leave it below in the comment box. I'm happy to always talk to anybody that has any questions or comments. All right, guys, everybody take care, and we'll see you soon. Love you. Bye.